What's up, everybody? We have been talking about Cialdini's principles of persuasion. We are through four of them. This is number five. This is reciprocity. The heuristic is under my face. The heuristic is if someone does you a favor, you should repay it. This is something that you find in cultures across the world. The idea that people just have a kind of an internal balance sheet that it feels a little uncomfortable when somebody has given you something. You feel like it should be repaid, that you should even the balance sheets, so to speak. So just to give you an example of right uh, of what that would look like, you've got the car wash here, free car wash. Doesn't even say car. Oh, donations. Right? Donations welcome, right? It's a free car wash, but donations are welcome. And I'm not saying there are zero people in the world that would go to a free charity car wash and get a car wash and walk away without contributing anything. But that's very much the exception. And the reason is that people just don't feel comfortable um, taking something and not giving something in return. Um, so words, let's see, words that work for smarter digital marketing and sales. So this is pretty common to write as far as marketing techniques now. Among the things that people are suggesting is to to give it away for free, give some inferior version of the product away for free, and that can create an incentive or a desire to buy something um, as well. Free, right? Free trials work this way in part by encouraging people. Um, right, they get something for free, and it does create at some level among most people a feeling like you should repay it and um, the free thing that you got. This was really the whole idea behind Zappos. So this is a company that Amazon bought, and they're just one of the things that they did really well was just over the top, super outstanding customer service. You can kind of see this. So this is actually the cover of his book. Um, the CEO Tony Hsieh passed away a couple of years ago. I want to say 5 years ago, maybe. Um, anyway, the point is they grew their company by word of mouth in large part by just doing outstanding customer service. And so as if you think about that, outstanding customer service, um, that's most people would say that's a good thing for a business to have. But what Zappos did was they found a way to make that their advertising by people who get treated incredibly well are much more likely to talk about it, and that for them kind of evens the balance sheet out, so to speak, so they don't feel like they're indebted to Zappos, even if nobody might put it in those particular words. Getting something for free does create, or getting something exceptionally kind does create a sense of indebtedness that is a little uncomfortable. And by buying something from the company, you even things out. I think my next slide is here we are, right? Free samples. Free samples work for a couple reasons. One of them is you get to sample a product, and if it's good, maybe you'll buy more, but I don't think that fully explains why sampling is so successful. Um, it also creates um, an an unevenness in terms of you get somebody who is giving you something for free, and that does create sort of some internal pressure to um, balance the balance sheets so that you don't feel this internal indebted sense, and you're more likely to buy something. My suspicion is that most people, when they take a free sample at a grocery store, feels like feels at least some pressure to want to take whatever it is that they're selling, right? And that's reciprocity. Door in the face is, in a lot of ways, the opposite of foot in the door. So, door in the face, you present the target with a large request. Would you be willing to donate $100 to the Policeman's Association, most people would say no to that. And so the idea of door in the face is the exact opposite of foot in the door. Door in the face is you ask for something that is unreasonable and you don't expect to get, which on the one hand sounds like a not a very sophisticated way to get something that you want, but but by asking too much, and then if you step it back, the other person will feel some pressure to step it back as well. So I think I've got a cartoon here. Mom, can we get tattoos? No. Can we drive the car? No. Can we have some ice cream? Right. That's the idea of door in the face. You deliberately set out to get more or to ask for more than you would ordinarily then you expect. You ask for something that is almost certainly going to be a no, with the expectation that once you get a no, you'll back off and ask something much less, and hope that that creates that same that they will reciprocate, that they will also back down from their no and say yes. That is door in the face. Unfair exchanges. I mean, this is actually, I don't typically go into this very much, but as far as sales, this can be pretty effective. That even a small uh, gesture can create some fondness and also kind of encourage some reciprocity. And so the example here, here's $5, and you ask for a large purchase. I mean, in this example, this could work conceivably if this were like a $5 gift, right? You give somebody something meaningful, uh, or even if it's trivial, and then it does create a sense of obligation on the on from the other person. That is reciprocity. Our final principle is friendship and liking. And of course, a friend asks for a favor, it's good to say yes. And I mean, the most obvious way that this is used for persuasion is through salespeople that act likable or act friendly, and many of them are likable and friendly, but um, you act friendlier and more likable when you're a salesperson than you would if you were, say, doing collections, right? Couple examples. So the the thing that, well, let me back up and say we do this thing where we like to say that opposites attract, and that's a phrase that I'm sure you've heard before. And there's nothing that could be further from the truth that people widely believe. Um, the thing that people like more than anything is similarity to themselves. Um, I don't mean this necessarily physically, although a little bit. People, well, I'll just say it this way. Um, Even the most trivial kinds of similarities create liking. And so they've done some experiments where people will treat people who have been randomly assigned a colored hat, red or blue, if they're just handed out randomly. People will like the people that have the same color hat, even if they know it's handed out randomly, more than average. Same thing. So another way to say it is that people show preference for people who have the same color hat. This study was done, by the way, uh, before the MAGA movement and so forth, and so it's not um, a political ideology thing. It's just randomly assigning people hats, right? So, and then the other thing is with the month of birthday, you're led to believe that somebody has a birthday the same month, you actually tend to like them a little bit more. And so the idea is, this is what I mean when I say what people really love is similarity to themselves, really trivial levels of similarity create sympathy and some kind of liking, right? And so this is why hey, my uncle's from New York, right? Anything to create similarity can be effective in sales. Um, Sort of apart from similarity, attractiveness is incredibly important for friendship. I don't, I would say if not incredibly important, it's at least more important than people typically appreciate for both male and female. And so I actually was involved in this research, but it's been replicated many, many times. If you just show people a random selection of faces and say, who do you think you might be friends with or you might want to be friends with? Men want to be friends with other men that are more attractive, and women want to be friends with other women that are more attractive. Of course, that works across sexes too. Um, but I think people tend to underappreciate how valuable attractiveness is. Maybe not. Maybe we're um, at the point where we are appropriately understanding the extent to which physical attractiveness is valuable in terms of persuasion. So physical and one of the reasons is something called the halo effect. So the halo effect is that when there is one clear positive attribute that a person has, you assume the presence of many other positive attributes. If all you know about a person is that they gave very generously to a particular kind of charity, you would likely assume the presence of many other traits there, right? They give a lot of money away. You would assume things such as maybe they're conscientious. Uh, what are some other positive traits? Thoughtful, kind, things that are unrelated to the giving of the gift, right? So you know they're generous by giving the gift, but it doesn't mean they're conscientious. But the best example of this is with attractiveness, where when you have established that somebody is attractive, you assume the presence of many other positive traits, such as generous and thoughtful, or whatever kind of positive traits you might think of. The idea is, again, halo effect is when you have clear evidence of a particular positive trait, it is really easy to assume the presence of many other positive traits, right? And this is largely why physical attractiveness is so commonly used in persuasion and in advertising campaigns. Did a study, the American Heart Association found that their attractive fundraisers um, brought in 45% more. So they just kind of broke them into more attractive than average, less attractive than average, and the more attractive than average produced considerably more donations. Shared group membership. They did this on campus and they were asking students for small donations. The students who were soliciting the donations had to memorize these short little scripts. Um, and these scripts were identical, but one group was told that they start every kind of script reading. Their script started with, I'm a student too. The other group didn't. Um, but by saying I'm a student too, they found that they had doubled donations. Physical contact. They found this is quite old, this study, um, but I think it's still valuable. They found that a particular restaurant, the average tip was $16. Servers that touched the customers twice had on average 22%. Um, it's not like if the servers just randomly were touching people on the forehead or whatever, that would increase sales. But when somebody is comfortable enough to casually touch somebody, that does send a message. And I'm sure there are among the touch twice people who did not want to be touched. It might have reduced what they've been giving. Um, but on whole, it really seems to work. And people don't touch each other accidentally. It's very rare that happens, and usually when you touch somebody, there's some element of affection or friendship or liking, and so you extend that to the marketplace, and it does seem to be an effective means of gaining tips. Although if you have any um, examples to the contrary or that confirm with this, I'd love to hear them. So last thing I'll say about friendship and liking is that a lot of what advertising does, particularly what you'd call reminder advertising, is just to keep a brand present in your mind. And I'll give you, I think, what I hope will stay with you. Whenever people are asked if they are persuaded by advertising, overwhelmingly the answer is that they're not. But and then if you ask people if they've ever heard of a company called Coca-Cola, most people would say yes. Um, and yet, if Coke ceases to advertise in a particular location, their sales will go down. And this is despite the fact that people would say, I don't buy Coke because of their advertising, right? Almost nobody would say that they buy Coke because of their advertising. And yet, if Coke ceases to advertise, their sales go down. Right? This is the idea of reminder advertising. When a brand is well established, it even if it's exceptionally well established, you need to have that brand brought to mind regularly if um, to keep people selling. And so the kind of so humorous advertisements, and Coke, there's not a lot of content, not a lot of it's just a lot of good vibes, right, in their advertisements. Positive, funny. They've done a lot of different advertisements, but one of the things they have in common is they're all very positive. Um, Eating, there was a study done that people are more persuadable when they're eating. If you've ever been invited to those, like timeshare events, they almost always serve a meal. And actually this section should probably be in reciprocity, but but anyway, so in general, people who are eating are more they're more easily persuaded. um and but then again, also, if you give somebody a free meal, and this is the part that is probably better in the reciprocity section, that does create um, an incentive on the part of the person who's been purchased a meal, that they would be willing to consider donating or buying or whatever. Sporting events, people love their sports teams, which is why, from a fundraising perspective, one of the easiest things for a university to do is they get sponsorships for their athletes. Did I pause this? I guess not. All right. So I didn't know if I was going to go into this. I'll go into this relatively quickly. So, this photograph was worth $20 million. So this is at the Oscars a couple of years ago, and it's Bradley Cooper and a bunch of famous people. Um, Samsung was rolling out. So this was the image. This was the image that went out on Twitter, and at the time was the most retweeted photograph in America. Uh, oh man, I'm sorry, this is a little sloppy on the slides, but and then this is what the camera saw and what people at home who were watching saw, which is the Samsung, right? And so why did Samsung think it was worth $20 million for one night to put their phone in Bradley Cooper's hands? Well, because he's famous and everybody likes him, right? And as are celebrities in general, they're people. I mean, the thing that makes them celebrities is that they're well known, and generally, and the thing that celebrities from villains is celebrities are liked in general, right? And so um, putting products in the hands of celebrities is a great way to persuade people, in part because it doesn't feel like persuasion. And that is much more effective if the people are liked by the audience. And I think that is all I'm going to say. You've learned all that you can.